It is the Sports Mashup number 8, April 21st, 2021 is the date of this one, as they are always on Wednesday, except I'm assuming next week we'll have to do something in between the draft and the number 9 or number 10 episode then. But this is number 8, and I guess we always tend to start in the NBA, which we will for this one. I did want to say that I don't know why the recording software took so long to load up there. I was all geared up to do a really good intro, and I think my intro wasn't as good as it could have been due to it taking so long, so I do blame the recording software for that. But let's start here. Big game tonight. Big game. I'm not going to watch it because I don't really care that much, but it's a big game for people that care about the NBA and people who are Knicks or Hawks fans. You got those teams battling it out at Madison Square Garden tonight. The Knicks have won 7 in a row. They're 5 games over 500. The Hawks – pretty good too. Both teams looking for that 4 spot in the Eastern Conference, and I'm sure the Celtics aren't going to go away without a fight too. They're in the mix. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much does this game interest you tonight? For me, it's like a 2. I really don't care.
I give it a 1.
Okay, for an NBA fan, I mean it's a big deal, I guess. But come on.
Because I don't even know who's on the Hawks other than
you got Trae Young. You got
other than Trae Young, I don't know who else is on the Hawks.
John Collins, I guess your boy Cam Reddish from Duke is on there. Danilo Gallinari's on there, I believe. That's about all I know. So there's your Hawks update on the podcast. And then the other thing, we want to send our sincerest apologies out to Steph Curry for completely overlooking and not talking about the fact that he passed Will Chamberlain on the was the Warriors scoring list?
Yeah.
Or the all-time Warriors scoring list or something. So good for him. You know, he's been on an absolute tear. He had, 49 the other night against the Sixers. They beat them. So, I mean, if Klay Thompson wasn't hurt, the Warriors would be legit threat in the West because he's been so good this year. Look at his last 10 games, 40 points per game, 72 three-pointers, and if you don't know how to do the quick math like I do, 7.2 per game, that is, of course. 55% from the field if you round up, 50% from threes, just ridiculous. And anybody, honestly, if you don't think that Steph Curry is the best shooter of all time, then you're wrong. I mean, it's that simple now. I don't see a good argument for Ray Allen. I don't see a good argument for Reggie Miller because you look at Reggie Miller's numbers, and I know threes are much more prevalent now, but Reggie Miller – barely has more threes than Steph Curry right now, and he played 600 more games. So do you think that anybody other than Curry is the best shooter in the history of the NBA? Because I really don't think that.
No, it's also hard to go back and compare those.
It is.
Those
defense
shooters
was better.
Because you had different eras. Defense was more a thing back then.
But teams try to lock down Curry. You look at a lot of his shots that he makes, they're mostly contested. You could put the best defender in the league, the best guard defender in the league right now, Curry would still put up numbers. He's that good. I don't think it's close. I mean, I know the game's different, but I just don't think he's going to have the most threes of all time by a mile when he's done. So you just can't argue that. It's kind of like Brady. I know the game was different back then, but
yeah.
And
with them moving the 3-point line back, it just opens the court up that much more for the shooter.
He could also shoot from literally anywhere. And it also helps that he has 2 MVPs and 3 rings. I would definitely say that helps. 6-time All-NBA. So he's got the accolades. He's got the numbers. I don't really think there's any other argument. And then we had this news, which was honestly very surprising.
Oh, it's crushing.
It does suck.
I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge has to announce his retirement after experiencing irregular heartbeat on the court during his final game Saturday night, which was last Saturday. And then I even wrote on our notes, "This sucks. I really liked his game and thought he was a good addition to the Nets."
Yeah, it's a veteran guy, good player. I wanted him in Phoenix. I think I mentioned that when the Nets got him. I wanted him in Phoenix a long time ago before he went to San Antonio. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was playing with this the entire time. It's just that he knew about it, but it started to actually affect him in that game or over the last few weeks. So then he was like, you know what, I'm done, which I respect. So I think that's what the whole story was. I think he knew about it the whole time, but it didn't really affect him until this. So does he get a ring if they win at all?
I wonder if he had to be there for so many games, and I wonder if he was there for so many games.
I think they would give him a ring anyway. I don't really think they care. I think they would give him a ring anyway. I don't think the NBA is going to stop them from doing that if they wanted to do it. Of course, they got to actually get all their players in the court because right now it's like only Kyrie playing. And I saw that James Harden's injury is back to square one with the hamstring or whatever. So we're probably not going to see all three of them playing together, which they've only played in 7 games, I think, this year until the playoffs. So we'll see. I think the East is wide open. I think the West is too. But as we've said many times in this podcast, I only think there's a few teams in each conference that can actually come out of it. Like, I don't think there's more than 3 in each right now. Maybe
didn't
4.
Anthony Davis almost just get cleared to play?
I think he's back tonight. If the Lakers are playing tonight, I'm pretty sure he's back. So we'll see. But that's way too much NBA. That's 5.5 minutes right there. So let's go to the NFL, and it's going to be draft topics.
But the Bears did sign Marquise Goodwin to a 1-year deal. He didn't play last year in Philly due to COVID because he just had a kid, and him and his wife have been having issues with that. But a former track star, wide receiver, Texas. He made the 2012 Olympic team for track. I thought he was a heck of a receiver when he got drafted to Buffalo and then at the Niners.
Good speed. Does he have a quarterback that can throw him the ball, though, in Chicago? Not really. And he's going to be, number 3 or 4 if they draft somebody?
Yeah. So, and are they going to use him as a take the cover off the defense, or are they use him as a slot receiver?
I mean, Darnell Mooney is really good at doing those things. So I feel like unless Darnell Mooney gets hurt, I don't know how much they're actually going to use Goodwin, because if they keep Anthony Miller, who I think is still there, even though there's rumblings about them trading him, if they keep him, who knows if Goodwin will see the field very often. But you never know, I guess, with the way they run things. So we don't know. So let's talk about the schedule, which is a big deal apparently. Everyone knows who they're playing. It's all about the dates and the times and what's the Sunday Night Football schedule, Monday Night Football, that whole deal. That'll come on Wednesday, May 12th. So I guess we'll record after that's revealed on May 12th. So we'll go a little bit later for that so we can get that in. The draft is in 8 days, by the way. Didn't know if you heard. Everyone's talking about it. You know, it's one of the most – I love the draft. Last year's draft will always probably be the best draft in terms of nobody else had anything to do. Everyone was paying attention. Very unique. It's the most overrated thing in sports, the NFL draft.
Speaking of which, have you heard the trade rumblings about your backup quarterback –
total BS.
Going to New England.
You know what the chances that Jordan Love gets traded to New England are? 0%. So
would you take that though?
No, I don't want to trade him.
For the 15th pick?
No. Trading him makes last year's draft completely meaningless. I think there's still a lot of upside there. And I think that this narrative that Rodgers has gone after this year is probably not true.
No, this was saying though, if you get rid of Love here, that just shows that you're keeping Rodgers longer.
But if Love was like a 2nd or 3rd round pick, I could probably live with that. But the fact they took him in the 1st round, I don't want to trade him. And the other,
you're getting the 15th overall pick for him,
which would be great. And I don't think Belichick is stupid enough to do that. So I don't see that happening. Why would he trade the 15th pick for a guy who hasn't played in the NFL before and was drafted in the 20s last year? And
what if he thinks this guy's better than the guys who he thinks he can get at 15?
I guess, but many people think that he would be in like the right before the Kyle Trask tier of this year's draft, Jordan Love. So like number 5 or 6 in this class. So I don't think Bill is dumb enough to do that, to be honest. And the only rumor that I saw that's worse than this from some douchebag radio guy is that the Niners are going to trade number 3 for Rodgers. I mean, shut up. Why would a team that's contending trade the reigning MVP for a top 5 pick, especially to a team that's one of their biggest competitors in the NFC? It's absolutely baseless. And I love how Packer fans have to deal with this every year. We hear about, Rodgers is going to get traded, or they're going to move Love, they're going to make this move and that move. Nobody outside of people that cover the Packers and are close to the building or people that actually pay attention think that any of this is real, because it's not. Jordan Love's not going to be traded. If he's traded, I will be floored. So.
Did you see the image that this trade offer was about or whatever?
I did not.
It was on Pat McAfee's show yesterday.
Pat's got to stop doing that.
No, it was an image that they got tweeted from someone's desk. I think it was either someone in Green Bay or someone in New England's and it showed that the Packers would get this and this and this, and then the Patriots would get Jordan or Love.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't know. But Justin Fields, who's a quarterback in this draft, informed NFL teams, I guess this came out today, during the pre-draft process that he's managing epilepsy, a neurological disorder that can cause seizures, has not affected his football, and is believed that he will outgrow it like other family members of his. So I don't think this will affect his draft stock too much. I don't know if the Niners were going to take him at 3 anyway, and if they were, I don't know if this scares them off. We'll find out, I suppose, but hope the best for him. And
it probably scares anybody that plays in a dome from drafting him.
I guess.
Well, I mean, any of those flashing lights or anything could send him into a seizure.
Well, it hasn't affected him yet, and he played in the dome for the both playoff, or I guess the semifinal playoff game against Clemson. That was in a dome, so I don't know. We'll see. I don't know where he's going to get drafted. I'm sure we'll probably know or have a better idea of that next week. So the league passes this rule, which I don't even really want to talk about this. It's so stupid. I don't really care either way. It doesn't affect me too much. Jersey number rule where pretty much any position can wear pretty much whatever number they want. Like in college, you could have a running back wearing like number 9, whatever.
I hate this rule.
I just don't care enough. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I liked it when you could tell from the numbers what position they were playing.
I like that too, but at the end of the day, I don't really think it matters at this point. I think we're in an era where you're going to know what's what with how much access there is to everything. So,
you knew that the receivers were 80 to 89. The tight ends were also in that. Your running backs were from 20 to 40.
Times are changing. You can do whatever you want now. That's how we operate.
Well, the receivers were already wearing those low numbers already. So basically, it's just telling you that the running backs can now wear single digits.
Yeah, I just don't care enough to be one way or the other on. It's one of those things. Not sure what the people shout out to Pittsburgh people Don in Pittsburgh are thinking about the Mike Tomlin extension. I've heard mixed reactions to that 3-year extension with the Steelers. So what do you think?
When you get rid of James Conner, now you kind of wonder how much is left in Big Ben's tank.
Yeah, I don't love the move. I think there's better coaches out there, and you just got to think about how many coaches have been better than him over the last decade. There's a handful of coaches that have been better than him in terms of winning more playoff games, and you could be successful. You could have success 15 years ago. Pittsburgh's had a good track record of hiring coaches, but Mike McCarthy, Jim Harbaugh, you look at any other coach that's had more playoff wins over the last decade than Tomlin, those guys have been fired or let go. So I think the leash is a little long here because they're probably – the mentality for them is they're probably not thinking about the fact that they were 11-0 to start, or they're probably thinking we have that 11-0 team, not the one that finished 1-5 down the stretch and got obliterated by the Browns in the playoffs. I think that's their mentality. I think it's wrong. I think they could get a better coach than Tomlin. I think his time is done there, should be done. I think he's a good coach, but I think at some point you got to move on. And I expect – if they don't make the playoffs this season, we've seen in this league before, you get an extension, then the next season you're fired. If they don't make the playoffs this season, I think Big Ben retires. I think Tomlin's gone. New era in Pittsburgh. So we'll see what happens.
And how many years did Juju re-sign for?
I think it was just a 1-year deal. I don't think he's going to be there very much. I'm surprised he re-signed there, to be honest. So we'll see. Let's go to the team needs discussion as we wrap up the NFL draft stuff and the NFL stuff for this episode. We'll go AFC South first, and we'll start there. Do you have those numbers or whatever?
Yeah, the Colts, they need offensive tackle, cornerback, wide receiver.
Okay, so offensive tackle. Their line's good. Do they have a first-round pick this year? I'm trying to remember because they traded it last year to get Buckner. I think they have their pick. But why not maybe try to get another weapon in there for Wentz at receiver? I mean, T.Y.'s back there, I think. And
Yeah, they didn't lose any receivers.
no, I mean, you look at what Wentz dealt with in Philadelphia in terms of receiver talent or lack thereof. So getting something for Wentz, I think, would be a good idea, whether that's tackle.
You got a healthy Pittman back.
Yeah, I think they're in a good spot to be good. So let's talk about the dumpster fire Texans.
They need a lot, supposedly. They need a cornerback, an interior defensive lineman, a wide receiver, an interior offensive lineman, a tight end, and an edge rusher.
That is a lot to take. They don't have a first, so I can see them trading in out of the first round. Maybe they traded that pick, obviously, to Miami for Laramie Tunsil. Weird move. Definitely to trade that much for a tackle, but that was the Bill O'Brien era, which you could throw most of that garbage out the window anyway. Here's my advice as someone who's never even been close to a front office in the NFL to the Texans. Just try to draft a good player. All right, Titans.
Cornerback, wide receiver, offensive tackle.
Cornerback, wide receiver, offensive tackle. I said Titans, right?
Mm-hmm.
I lost my train of thought for a second.
Would you say what? That was Corey Davis?
Yes. Their offensive line's pretty bad. I think they need more athletic offensive linemen. I think they lack that. I know that Taylor Luan was out last year, so
yeah, with ACL.
Yeah, I don't know. They need a lot of help defensively and offensively. So I think skill position wise on offense, they're pretty good. AJ Brown's good, obviously. I'm not sure what their tight end situation is because what's his name left? Go to New England. Jonnu Smith. Did he go to New England?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. The other team in that division is, of course, the Jaguars.
Yeah, they need a quarterback, an offensive tackle, wide receiver, safety.
I believe that they have another pick in the first round. I'm pretty sure them and the Jets have 2 picks in the first round. I think it makes sense for them to take pretty much anything around Lawrence that you can. Their receiver room's good. Running back wise, I think they're okay. Robinson was good last year. Offensive line, they have some aging guys there. Maybe get someone in there to get it going. Defensively, obviously need some help. Their defense a few years ago when they were good is completely different from now. So we'll see. Let's go NFC South, which we'll start.
You got to leave that to last.
Okay, we'll talk about the South last. Let's go AFC West. Chiefs.
They need offensive tackle, wide receiver, linebacker, interior offensive lineman.
Offensive line is where I would go with this. I could see them maybe take another skill position guy just to mess around and have some fun. That would be cool. Depends on who's there, but offensive line.
They cut both their tackles. I think they signed one tackle already.
Well, they signed Joe Thuney, however it's pronounced, big time guard. So they got some interior help, but they could definitely use someone to protect Mahomes. He's had some slight lower level injury issues in his first few seasons. So let's go to the Chargers.
Offensive tackle, edge, safety, cornerback.
Offensive line, always need help there, especially when you get a young quarterback like Herbert. I like where they're at in terms of skill position players on offense. Their secondary should be pretty good if they're healthy. But D-line, I think Melvin Ingram, is he gone? I thought he was a free agent. I'm not sure if he's back there. Get someone next to Bosa maybe on the edge.
I said, you can get another edge rusher with him there.
Yeah, they were really good a couple years ago when they were healthy. So we'll see. Let's go to the Broncos.
Linebacker, cornerback, quarterback.
They're not going to draft quarterback in the first round. I think that's all but confirmed at this point. I don't know. I think they'll look at it more from a defensive perspective. I think Patrick Surtain would be a tremendous fit there. They just got Kyle Fuller. But you look at a coach like Fangio, he's probably going to want to take defense in the first round. Last year, they took Jerry Jeudy. So went a different direction. This year, I think the Broncos are always a team that's good when their defense is good. At least in the last decade, that's been the case. They had Peyton Manning that year. He had that amazing season. I don't think they won the Super Bowl that year, but then the next year they won it whenever their defense was really, really good. So that's kind of how I approach the Broncos perspective. Let's go to the Raiders, who
they didn't have what's his name play at all last year.
Von Miller, Bradley Chubb.
Von Miller didn't play at all last year.
Weren't they both hurt at some point? I think
Chubb, got hurt towards the end of the year.
Hurt, yeah. Yeah, they got Kyle Fuller in there now, so those secondary will be better.
The Raiders need an offensive tackle, interior defensive line, and linebacker. Which I'm surprised it doesn't say the entire line, because didn't they cut their entire line?
They made some cuts. Their offensive line is so much worse than it was. They traded Brown to – where the hell did they trade him? They traded him somewhere.
At one point, they got rid of their whole offensive line, didn't they?
Pretty much. I think that's kind of what happened. Did they have Rodney Hudson and traded him to Arizona?
I believe so.
I think that was them, and then Gabe Jackson got traded as well. I think they traded 3 offensive linemen, so that would be where you'd go, I think. So I don't know. I never really know what Mayock or Gruden are going to do in the draft. It's kind of a confusing one whenever it comes to them, but we'll see.
They're going to shock the world and trade up and take a quarterback, say, see it, Carr.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. Unless I think the only way they would move on from Carr is if they could get like Watson or a big-time QB. So, I think if Rodgers was actually going to be traded or available, I think the Raiders would go all in to get him. NFC West, we'll start with the Seahawks.
Edge rusher, offensive tackle, cornerback.
Yeah, I mean, they need some defensive help. I know their secondary's been better. They don't really rush the passer all that well at this point, and it'd be nice for them to get some help for Russell Wilson, especially on the offensive line. He's been sacked a ton in his career, so it's kind of how I would look at it. I don't even know who else is in that division. Rams, we'll go to the Rams, who have some sort of overly bougie freaking place to do the draft stuff from, like that house they tweeted or whatever. I mean, that's a little over the top, but whatever. What are the Rams needs?
I haven't seen that tweet.
Interesting.
They need offensive tackle, interior offensive line, tight end, linebacker, edge rusher.
Their defense is good. They lost John Johnson III, and they traded Michael Brockers, so they're going to need a little bit of a reload defensively. They're going to have a new defensive coordinator since they lost Brandon Staley to the Chargers. So he's their head coach. He leaves the Rams. So going to need a bit of a reload on defense. Offensively, I think they're okay.
May lose Aaron Donald.
I don't think that's going to happen. So, let's go to the Cardinals. Did we already? No, we didn't do them.
Cornerback, linebacker, interior offensive line, and wide receiver.
They need defense.
I don't know if they really need a receiver anymore.
Not this year, but maybe get a young one if they really feel like it, if they like somebody. I don't know. My thing for Arizona is draft some defense. So there you go. Who's the last team in that division?
Niners.
Yeah, what do they need? Aaron Rodgers?
It just says their only need was a quarterback.
That's about right. Makes sense. I think it's going to be Lance or Fields. We'll find out next Thursday. So
Mac Jones it is.
Could be Mac Jones. I wouldn't be that surprised if I were that wrong, but that's what it is. NFC South, we'll start with the Panthers.
Offensive tackle, cornerback.
I think that they are going to take an offensive tackle in the first round. I think if Penei Sewell falls to them at like 7 or 8 or wherever they are, I think they'll take him. And they drafted all defense last year. I think they had 7 picks. They took 7 defensive players. I think they're going to draft a little bit more offense, get somebody around Darnold now.
Last week they just signed AJ Bouye.
Yep, nice corner there.
He's only out, what was it, 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks. It's been the first 2 weeks of the season. All right, let's go to the Falcons. We're going from teams that have no chance in the division to the teams that have a chance.
Tight end is the only thing they say the Falcons need.
Well, I don't know if they'll draft one in the first round. I don't remember where their pick is. I guess Kyle Pitts is who they think they're going to take. So I wouldn't be that surprised if they took one, I guess, because I forgot they were that high in the draft because they were that bad. So I think Kyle Pitts is probably going to end up there, and it's going to be a pretty chalk draft in the top 10 overall, I think. There might be one surprise in there, but I don't think there's going to be that many. Unless Mac Jones is taking in the entire thing, will explode, of course. Let's go to the Saints.
Cornerback, wide receiver, edge, linebacker.
How about someone who could play football for the Saints? I think that would be good for them because they're like $700 million over the cap.
What do you mean? They have Taysom Hill. He plays every position
Yeah.
you need him to play.
And he signed that 4-year, $140 million Fugazi contract. So
Yeah.
I mean, the way that I would approach it for the Saints is just draft someone who can play. Your cap's going to completely explode in like 2 years, so just try to win now. Go for it. Taysom Hill, throw him in starting quarterback. Jameis Winston, who exactly? All right, let's go to the Bucks.
Edge rusher, wide receiver, which I don't know why they needed a wide receiver.
I'd get a linebacker, outside linebacker that can rush the passer, or an inside linebacker that could be a replacement or someone behind Levante David and Devin White. Because Levante David's got what, 2-3 good years left?
Yeah,
maybe less. We'll see. I'd draft some sort of defensive player because defense does win championships. I think that was pretty obvious in the Super Bowl. So,
but I don't know why they would need another receiver.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to lose Godwin after this year, I have to think, because they had that franchise tag. I don't see them being able to give him that much money after this season, so I think he'll be gone. And I don't think Antonio Brown's going to be back there.
No, they're going to wait, and they're just going to sign Edelman in the middle of the year.
Well, they could use a receiver down the road. Because, like, you agree that Godwin's gone after this year, right?
I don't know.
I mean, they're not going to have the cap, especially if Brady sticks around. I think they're going to.
If they win again, do you think he's going to leave?
Yeah, you got 2, you're good to go. Go get paid. If you get 2, you should leave.
No, he's going to say, franchise me again.
I don't see that happening. We'll see. We'll get more into the draft stuff next Wednesday, the eve of the draft. We'll talk all about it in the NFL. All right, let's go to college basketball. A couple of quick ones there. Not too much analysis, I don't think we'll need for some of this stuff. Number 1 overall recruit for this year's class, Chet Holmgren, who's a 7-footer, who's got so much skill, can play any position you want, can shoot, can score, do it all. Big man. Going to Gonzaga. Worst kept secret. Everybody knew this was going to happen. Reload for Gonzaga. They're going to be really good once again. They got the number 1 recruit, a top 5 point guard in the class. Timmy will probably be back. You got to think Nimhard will be back. They're going to be really good again. No surprise.
Still hasn't said anything, right?
I'm pretty sure he declared this week. Because I saw a Barstool article. He declared, then immediately auctioned off like a 1-of-1 NFT or whatever those things are, those moments or whatever of that buzzer beater against UCLA. Oh. So he's gone. So there you go. Everyone knew it was going to happen. He's going to be a top 5 pick anyway. They did finally pass the one-time transfer rule, which I think is fine. Everyone thought it was going to come, and everyone's messing around. No one will shut up about the whole transfer thing. I'm so sick of it. I don't even care at this point. So whatever. Let's talk about someone
now. If they do transferring. Now, if they do that, they just need to make it. You have to play at least 2 years before you can go to the NBA.
It's never going to happen. All right, let's go to Jimmy Boeheim.
Yeah, he's transferring from Cornell to play with his dad and his brother at Syracuse.
My thoughts on this, I tweeted the other day, could this be the final hoorah for Jim Boeheim? Goes out with his 2 sons playing for him. I think it's about time. You know, he's been a Cuse for like 45 years or something.
Yeah, so. But what year is Jimmy Boeheim?
He's got to be a senior or close to it. So
I thought he was only going to be like a sophomore.
Either way, I think he might just go out, though. He's like 79. I think it's about time to hang him up. But
you don't think he stays until his youngest son graduates? Hey, thanks for coming and play for me 1 year, son. You're going to finish out your year under some other coach. So
I guess. I don't know. We'll see. What else?
You have Duke strength in the front court with a 6'9" transfer, Theo John from Marquette. Just weird, he transfers after Wojo gets fired.
Just a reload. Duke reloading. Not surprising. That's what you got to do. And they're going to be better, obviously. They'll bounce back. Yeah,
USC 7-footer Mobley declares for the draft, but his brother, who was a sophomore, stays put at USC. And Creighton's fifth starter finally declares for the draft. 4 have entered the draft and 1 transferred.
So Zagorowski, Balak, the guy that plays the 3 that I can't remember the name of. Was it Mahoney? Was he a starter? And then Bishop transferred? I think something like that. But yeah, Creighton's in a tough spot. I don't know how good they'll be next year. I think they're going to be not great. But one thing I will
lose all
say,
5 starters.
yeah, it's not good. I'm sure the guys that entered the draft, some of them kept their eligibility and could return. So we'll see. But my final thing I want to say about college basketball is that the SEC is going to be ridiculous next season. Just think about that. Let it soak in. We'll talk about it in like 6 months. The SEC is going to be absurd next year. But anyway, let's go to golf. RBC Heritage. I don't think either of us were close to even thinking about this guy winning.
Oh, Stuart Sink.
Good name. I mean, not a bad name.
19 under, 1.3 mil.
Good for him. But now we got a fun little event coming up this week.
Yeah, the Zurich Classic of New Orleans at TPC of Louisiana, Avondale, Louisiana.
Yeah, it's like a duos event. I think the defending champs are John Rahm and Ryan Palmer. So there you go. We'll make our picks for that later.
So Ethan definitely picked those guys.
Absolutely.
Because when I clicked on it, there wasn't any defending champions. Ethan really looked into that.
Well, I just saw a PGA Tour made a tweet about it. That's the only way that I knew. But let's get to our weekly Jacob deGrom spot. 14 strikeouts, 6 innings, 3 unearned runs, front end of a doubleheader. He's 1-1 with a .45 ERA, 9 straight strikeouts in that game, 1 shy of tying the MLB record set by another Met, Tom Seaver. The record was 10. So deGrom, amazing. Shouldn't have a loss, but he does. We'll talk about another guy who's ridiculous, and I'll skip a couple here for this one real quick. Corbin Burns, holy smokes. 4 starts, 2-1 record, a .37 ERA, 24 innings, 40 strikeouts, and what? 0 walks. Just an absurd start of the season for Burns, and him and deGrom battling it out for NL Cy Young is going to be fun to watch. Hopefully Walker Buehler can get in the discussion because I picked him. But Burns and deGrom have by far been the 2 best pitchers in baseball. Another guy who's pretty good is Garrett Cole. Yankees have been terrible, but he's been good. They beat the Braves last night, finally getting a win. They're owned by the Rays, by the way. They're 1-5 against the Rays this season, 6-10 overall. The Braves continue to struggle despite the fact that Acuna got really hot and then hurt. So you got that. And then Chris Bryant trade rumors already flying. Cubs aren't very good right now. Bryant's going to be a free agent after this season. I think they're going to trade him if they're not in a playoff spot by the deadline, which I don't think they will be. So, and you know who makes a lot of sense? The Mets. Because if you watched the Cubs-Mets game last night, J.D. Davis hit a home run. Yeah, great. He made 2 errors at third base that cost them a couple runs, and they lost the game 3-1. So
ever since Brian got hit in the head, he's just not been the same.
He's still good, though. I think he's still –
I'm not saying he's like terrible.
Yeah.
But he's just not been the same that he was before that.
Baez and Rizzo have been horrendous, too. Like, those 3 guys have just been terrible in the last 2 seasons, or at least last season, which was a shortened season, and then this season to this point. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Let's go to the NHL. The Habs goaltender, Carey Price, in concussion protocol. They're starting to slip. I don't know if the Montreal Canadiens are going to make the playoffs. It's going to be a tough road for them ahead, and they need him to be good.
Did you take a puck to the helmet or what?
I didn't even. I had the game on, but I wasn't watching that much. It was Oilers and Canadiens, and I just saw a tweet that said he's not out for the second period. So I don't know what happened. We'll see what they say in the coming days, but they need him to be successful. So Vegas can clinch a playoff spot tonight. They're 32-11-2, 66 points in the Honda West Division, 2-point lead on Colorado. They have to get 1 point against San Jose tonight to clinch a playoff spot. They'd be the first team to do so, of course. They're obviously going to make it, but they could clinch one with about 3 or so weeks to go in the season. And finally, before we get to the Marleau stuff, the NHL 2021-22 season is quote-unquote ideal that it'll be planned to be the training camps on September 22nd and the season starting on October 12th. The season will start on ESPN, of course. That's per Pierre LeBrun of TSN and The Athletic, which I think is great. And one thing that I should do, and I don't know if you agree with this, is do what the NBA did, which is come out with a first-half schedule So you have that all good to go, and then you can come up with a second half schedule when the second half is about to start, kind of to assess the situation and figure out scheduling. I think that's a smart way to do it at this point. Do you agree with that?
So they're still going to do it the same, like, divisions?
I'm assuming by the time next season starts, unless things are worse in Canada, that we will have normal divisions next season. I think we're going to have the Pacific, which the Pacific and Central will make a swap where Seattle will be in the Pacific and Arizona will be in the Central. I think we'll have the regular Metro with, New York teams, Buffalo, the Islanders, the Canadian teams that are in there, which I think Ottawa might be in there. Actually, I think Ottawa's in the Atlantic. But the Atlantic, of course, with Boston, all those teams. So I think we'll have normal divisions next season. I really do. Now, if it's really bad in Canada, the Canadian teams might have to play in America, which I don't know if that's going to happen. So we could have the same divisions again, or we could revamp the American divisions again and then do just a Canadian division. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. We'll find out. A lot of time to work with it, though. And some massive things that went down on like Monday night or whatever that was.
Yeah, Patrick Marleau broke Gordie Howe's record of games played at age 41. Marleau debuted on October 1st, 1997, at the age of 18 years and 16 days. Howe played 1,767 games. He retired at the age of 52, but played an additional 419 games in the WHA that didn't count towards his record.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this record was untouchable until I found out that Marleau had a chance to break it. Pretty amazing accomplishment to play that many games. It's a lot of games. And Gordie Howe obviously is a top 5 player of all time. Everybody knows who the top 5 players are of all time. I think for the most part, I think there's 4 that are set in stone. Obviously, one that I have that you would completely disagree with, but I think I share the majority opinion.
And he did it in 23 years.
Yeah, I mean, he came into the league in, 97, you said? So pretty impressive. I mean, that's a lot of time, obviously, but to play that long and be consistent, pretty good. And I think Joe Thornton's
but one of those years didn't happen because of strike.
There was a lockout in 04-05, and then you had a pandemic, shortened season last year, and shortened season this year. Actually, there was 2 lockouts. 2011 and 12 was a shortened season. 04-05, there was no season. So, yeah, pretty good.
No season and 3 shortened seasons.
That's like the same thing. It's like, think of how many games Ovechkin hasn't been able to play because of the things that have happened. He would probably be close to passing Gretzky, even closer than he is to passing Gretzky for the all-time goal record.
Mm.
The season that he was drafted, there was no season. 11-12 happened, and then last year's shortened season happened, and then this year's shortened season. So Ovechkin would be damn close, I think. So I don't know. Let's get into the betting picks. Last week, I was 1-0 in the NBA, 1-1 in the NHL, 3-0 in Major League Baseball with a postponement between the Mets and Phillies. And then my golfers, I had Morikawa tied 7th, Zalatoris tied 42nd, and then Zach Johnson and who else did I pick? Zach Johnson was cut, and the other dude that I picked was cut that I don't know the name of because I forgot. So there you go.
I was 2-2 in baseball. Lost my own the one basketball game we could pick, and 1-1 in hockey. And
so pretty much the same.
I had one golfer didn't make the cut.
All right, so I had two for 4 in cuts. So let's go to the Zurich Classic of New Orleans. My picks, obviously, the defending champs: John Rahm, Ryan Palmer plus 700. I have Colin Morikawa, Matthew Wolff, a younger duo at plus 1,400.
I as well have them.
Cameron Champ, Tony Finau plus 1,800, and Henrik Stenson, Justin Rose plus 4,000. So
I as well have them.
It's hard for me to go like way up the ladder with this one because some of these duos I don't know anything about, and I don't even feel like picking them. So, who are the other 2 you got?
Kisner and Brown at plus 6,000.
I thought about that.
And Scheffler and Bubba Watson at plus 1,600.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. NHL moneyline picks for tomorrow. What do you have there?
I took Boston minus 1.5 over the Sabres, and Florida plus 102 over Carolina.
All right, so I'll take the Rangers minus 1.5 against the Flyers, and then I will take the Ottawa Senators plus 123 against Vancouver. So I know Vancouver's been good, but I think something's got to give, and I think Ottawa's going to get a nice little W. All right, let's go to the NBA. I guess we picked against the spread here because there wasn't.
Well, there's only 2 spread games.
I saw more than that on mine.
Oh, on mine there's only 2.
What'd you pick?
I got the Pelicans minus 7.5 over the Magic, and Chicago minus 3 over the Hornets.
All right, so I'm taking Chicago minus 3 against the Hornets, so I'll take that. And then I'm taking the Sixers plus 5.5 on the road at Milwaukee, which will be a great Eastern Conference game. I like the Sixers a lot. I think they're a very good basketball team. So there you go. And then Major League Baseball, let's finish off with that.
I got Cincinnati minus 140 over Arizona. The Cubs plus 125 over the Mets. The Angels plus 125 over the Astros. And the Giants minus 140 over Miami.
All right. I am taking the Reds minus 140 against the Diamondbacks, the Giants minus 140 against the Marlins, the Padres plus 160 against the mighty Dodgers, and the Mets minus 123 against the Cubs. So those are my baseball picks, and we will be back next Wednesday to preview the draft, a big draft show. A lot of the show is going to be draft stuff next week, so we'll limit the other sports. It's 1 week. You got to do it because the NFL draft is a massive spectacle that everyone has to pay attention to, or they're a loser if they don't. So there you go. All right, we'll be back, number 9, next Wednesday. We'll see you then.